In this session, I will talk about qualifying and tracking technical issues in mobile apps. I work as an iOS app developer at Yahoo Japan Corporation. My name is Kazuhiro Hayashi. And in order to talk about my own daily work, I would like to introduce myself. Currently, I am an iOS app developer with Yahoo Japan Corporation in developing and operating the Yahoo Japan's apps. And I was also on an iOS app, the black belt from the 2017 to 2020. The black belts are reserved for the leading experts in their field within the company. And then I was appointed in the field of the iOS activities, including the disseminating technical information outside the company, and then also trained the engineers within the company. I have given iOS talks at a tech conference in the past. If you would like to see them. As for and I have discussed about the accessibility of the applications in the 2021 and then also in the 2018. And as my presentation, please refer to this. And as far as this talk is concerned and the softwares and those situations which I would like to talk about it. And I don't know all the codes by myself, and then also developers who are developing apps with the large teams, and then also various professions that they do not work with directly, and the developers who are building the products with their members, and then not the plant managers. And however, they want to do the bottom up, and for those developers, and that is the target. And at the Yahoo Japan Apps has a large scale development for this, and that fits in these situations. And we hope that I will be able to talk about how I can help those in similar situations. And broadly speaking, I would like to talk about those. And while talking about the Yahoo Japan's development system, I would like to talk about the fact that in the larger organizations and technical improvements based solely on the individual motivation, it will not be enough to turn things around. Of course, that the elimination of the technical debt depends on largely on the commitment of the individual engineers, but alone is not enough to scale. The teams that have most recently achieved this with the Yahoo Japan application for iOS, and I would like to share with you what we have done this and at the Yahoo Japan applications, and this is what we are doing, which I would like to talk about it. And I am a software developer, and I am strongly committed to the technical issues of the products I work every day. And then I would like to share with you what are we doing and to improve the technology of the Yahoo. And then also we did the bottom-up and involving the other people as well, which I would like to talk about. And finally, I would like to talk about how I myself started this and then also continue this kind of efforts and keeping in mind in this case. And I would like to give you the use case, so it may not necessarily mean that it can be applied to your situations. However, I would like to give you the hints. And this talk will discuss how we are turning around technical improvements, and the iOS, the version of the Yahoo Japan, has been operated for many years as a face of Yahoo Japan and an important service for the business. And of course, we also operate the large number of the smartphone applications in which are used by the many users in Japan. The following is that the common problems with that the web situation, and then also the reading news and the many the functionalities are provided by this. And with this iOS applications and the dozens of the developers commit to this. And this is a team development, and we are discussing how we can make it efficient. Specifically, as of the 2022, the development we carried out under this structure. That company is a member of the Japan Society of the Civil Engineers. And the lower the right, and these are the team ABC, and those are the development team. And I have made it simple, the figures here, and iOS and Android, and backend for the application, and with that we consist of one the team. And a developer loosely dividing his the area of expertise and forming small teams. Several people, and the team director and project owners are in, and then also if there's any spare time, and in the case that from the product backlog, and depending on the priorities, and we get that things to do, and the product backlog in the right at the corner, and there's multiple the people of each service, and those are the PMs, and they were piling up. So as you see, the project is the large organization, and in a systematically, the project is proceeding. And lower right, and I would like to discuss about the development team. And since multiple other teams are committed to the single product, and regular meetings are held for each the products as a place for the horizontal communication, and we discuss current project and designs and the development. Since the Yahoo Japan application is the gateway to all services, and we receive a lot of consultations from the other the services, and we have the leaders. And there is a lot of the consultations from the other services. And Reels itself is scheduled every 2 weeks and commit the much over a period of the time. Subsequently, the QA, and that is a flow. And in terms of the organizations, I talked about it briefly. And in relating to that, the development method of the Yahoo Japan, which I would like to introduce. And this talk, starting from the 6 o'clock later tonight. If you are interested, then please refer to this. In this way, the Yahoo Japan application is being built with a large-scale development system, and however, they're running this kind of things, and with always there is a technical depth. And when we talk about the technical depth, for example, we are talking about a lot of people's hands, and that means the code can become spaghetti, or becoming code implemented on ad hoc basis, or the APIs and languages that were mainstream a few years ago was continued to be used. And those are the issue. Yahoo Japan applications, and unfortunately, those kind of situations exist. And I believe that it occurs in many other places as well. As you are able to eliminate such, are you be able to eliminate such depth, or are you continuing to do this as a team? And you have to have the framework in order to eliminate those technical depth. And in our cases, we as an organization, we continue to put our efforts to eliminate technical depth. And in this session, I would like to discuss about it, and from the engineer's point of view, how we can collaborate with the others. And that's something that I would like to cover in my talk. And first of all, I would like to introduce some of the ongoing technical improvement that the Yahoo Japan application for iOS has undergone over the past years. The first one is the multi-module of the applications, and the second one is the SwiftUI introduction implementation. And either of them, and in the iOS application, and this is a standard, I believe, and it is important from the long-term perspective, and they're not directly related to the business, and it requires more the human resources. And this is an aspect that it is difficult to address in the application that has been operating for many years. It's a good thing to be an engineer. So we want to do this, and that's how we feel. However, because this is the organization, and therefore we cannot continue to do it, and that doesn't motivate the organization, and we have to get the collaboration and understanding from the other people around you. And I will talk about this, and then after that, I would like to talk about what has been done commonly, because there are several patterns. And then, the main technology improvement measures are simple. Measures are not simply linked to the cells or the user numbers. And my personal interest as an engineer is going to be the explanation of the starting point, and how it can be contributed to the services, and that's what we have to consider. And we have to get the understanding from the others, and then also we have to continue to do this, and that is very important. And not just for iOS applications, and this is common for the other the technical areas. Now, I would like to talk about some cases study. And the first one, application to multimodality. Around in 2019, the Yahoo Japan applications was a monolithic system, and all source code was managed in the single repository in the project, and everything was built and together as a single binary. That's how it works. And from the engineer point of view, I felt that this situation was not good. One was the desire to clean up the design, and the other one was a desire to try the multi-module approach that has recently become a mainstream. And there was also a value prospect that the development efficiency should improve in the long run. That's what we thought. However, it would take time to realize, and since it is not a one-person development, and therefore we have to involve the others and other teams, and we had to get their commitment, and we had to collaborate with them.
So the distance to the position of the technology and also the interest in work different from person to person. And so in such organization, in order to achieve your technological interest, I thought about it. And so this is what important. So like, I dare to downside the value of the technology and then that set the easy to understand goals. That is what I did. So we downsize the value of the multi-module, and then we created the easy to understand goals and the metrics. We knew in theory that multimodality would speed up build and test execution time. So we convinced the people, everyone, to pursue these numbers as the only goal because it was more easy to understand. Like this, I try to simplify because the benefit is that the measurement system is easy to create. Since the measurement itself must be operated, we feel from experience that it is important to have as simple metrics as possible without losing the motivation. So the benefits can be communicated to non-developers in an easy to understand manner. It can be quantitatively demonstrated that faster builds mean more time to write code. It reassures those around the people. It assures the people that the work is progressing toward the goal. This sense of security is quite important in the work of a team with a separate specialty and separate responsibility. The code is progressively faster as it is divided into modules. So that is motivating the people. So because you can show the metrics, and so the people and other members can be motivated better. Because it is modularized, you can work faster. So the other members can get motivated. So now I'd like to talk about what I actually did. I said I convinced the people to decide what to measure. So now that I'm going to talk about what I really measured. So for the iOS app, you usually use Xcode to build, but the build result is stored as a log. And so XC activity log is in directly. So it's using the script, you can see that. You can pass through that. In this file, the recent build time is stored. So you can put it up to the server so that you can see the build time for the team. And then we can see that how much acceleration was made through the improvement. So in order to realize that state, so each developer has to put the log in the Mac, and so the log has to be parsed and sent to the server. And so in Xcode, there is a build completion event called PostScript. So then we push the whole script, and then we put that in a repository. So in this way, the build logs of dozens of developers, most of whom are not directly involved in the multi-module effort, are stored on the server. In this way, we were able to build relatively easy to operate system for measuring technical improvement metrics, because we can store all the logs. Over the past years, we have been gradually converting the system to a multi-module system based on this system. I use for this purpose, recently, Swift Package Manager is commonly used for this purpose. But for the Yahoo Japan, you can find a lot of information on how to do this on the internet, and you can also find out what kind of a module configuration is required. However, for the Yahoo Japan application, I use the embedded framework. So for the modularization, yes, as I said, you can find the information how to do it. And also, I'm not going to talk about the what kind of module construction configuration we split into, because it's not directly related to the topic. So we visualized the app build time like this. This is a screenshot from the dashboard. So it's displayed in Japanese. Here are the results of our efforts. This graph shows how the build time of the Yahoo Japan application actually changed from 2020 to 2021. As you can see, the graph shows the gradual decrease, and this is the logo of the older developers. The x-axis is the time, and then by date. And y-axis is the build time of all the developers. It's actually the average of that. So it's the average. So we excluded the lowest or highest time. As you can see, the graph shows a gradual decrease in build time with a few drops at certain points. After we started measuring, this is a period that we started the modularization. The average time was over 120 seconds. So then differential build didn't work very well. During this wave frame, some classes were multi-modularized. The average build of each developer was improved by about 20 seconds. The latest Xcode was released so that when we updated the environment of all the developers, then we were able to make the big jump of the build time improvement like this.
So using the three-time period calculation mentioned earlier, the average build time, we compared how the distribution was not, and the top was the period when no multi-modularization was done, and the middle is a period after some the class were modularized, and the bottom is the period after each developer's environment was updated. And looking at the distribution in the middle, the original build at the hand was at over 125 seconds, the very top one, and a number of the cases that were covered by the that. And some has been lowered. And take a look at the right-hand side, the percentages. In this way, the intrinsic value of the technology, put it at the side, and also the clear goals, and then also the indicator with that. And we will be able to show that the effect of that improvement. And I will give you another example. And this is a SwiftUI implementation. SwiftUI that has been announced in 2019, and this is very well known, the UI framework, and it can be implemented in the simply, and the UI can be built with a much simpler code than UIKit. And the Yahoo Japan applications, we would like to utilize this and those technologies, and because it's getting popular, and therefore we wanted to catch up from a technical point of view. And as of now, UI related, the information technology is mostly the SwiftUI based. And the latest technology that we would like to apply for that, and that was one of the motivation. And therefore, the same as the multi-module. Now again, in the same as in previous the story, I consider that the scheme that we translate the personal goals as an engineer into the benefit of the organization. And there's one thing that we have done, not iOS but Android web engineers and for the designers, and this could be the benefit. And furthermore, using that SwiftUI technology advantage can be simply or easily understood, and that's what we're trying to do it. And then indicators should be measurable so that the other team members can be motivated, and that's what we try to do. And then also the companies, the environment we thought about, and we thought this is going to be the best way. So I will talk about that context. And not just iOS, but the Android and the web designers and advantages from that perspective at the time. And Yahoo Japan and design systems construction was doing and was promoting. And this page contains that the Yahoo Japan's the challenges were interviewed, and we utilize these organizations, and there's other this organization's goal. And with that, we actually talk about the this is one of the good the system to use to the others. Now let me talk about the UI framework of the and Swift is a framework that allows UI code to be written declaratively, so it is easy to components and UI parts, and work well with the design system. And with the SwiftUI, in this kind of declarative, like web-like descriptions would be possible. And on the other hand, UIKit does not pose a declarative statement, and in a bad way, and it can be do anything, and so that the burden of the building and maintaining and the design system is quite high. And of course, with the UI kit, and you will be able to do it. However, in reality, SwiftUI as a tool, we think that and that is going to be the best. And therefore, I said that because of the SwiftUI, that's why we can do this to the surrounding people. And in web versions of the in Japan, and already adapted reject declarative UI framework. They is similar to the UI and also the atomic design and. We've been using Android as well, and Jetpack Compose. And this is a UI framework similar to that. And the trend of the UI implementation has completely moved to this direction for designers, and the same kind of the UIs and built with the same design philosophy has a significant impact on the man-hours required to create the UI specification. And for each of the platform, and to adapt that declarative UI framework that optimizes for each platform as a whole to get a positive response from the design organizations and that kind of things that we have talked to, including the atomic design common thought for the Yahoo Japan's. And personally, I don't have such a strong feeling about atomic design itself. And however, we have to provide that clear advantage and as a tool, and this is important for us. And then also, UI component design in the application and web, and we can standardize that. And this is only beneficial for the designers and for the organizations, designers organizations, well, outside. As a result, and we have created a situation in which that force ourselves to design based on the atomic design, and which is using the existing web version of the Yahoo Japan, and that was good things to do it. And iOS engineers, and not the iOS engineers, however, wanted to the SwiftUI, and we're trying to get such friends.
So after creating a certain level of atmosphere, then we set specific goals and metrics as a team objectives. As with the module decomposition, we focus on making things as easy to understand as possible for non-iOS engineers. And so we replaced the existing UI kit-based screen with a SwiftUI, which would greatly reduce the amount of source code coding. And I think that evaluating source code by the number of steps is a problematic approach. But however, as I have explained repeatedly, the purpose is to be able to explain it simply to non-developers and to show that the progress is being made. So I decided to use it as a front goal in addition to the back goal. And UKit uses, of course, that we use a UKit. UKit uses a visual editor called Interface Builder, which is an XML file with far more steps than the Swift UI. So as the number of steps actually used as the metrics, so then readability increases dramatically. And then that the measurement was performed that we choose to use a simple number of steps instead of using cyclical complexity or other difficult to measure metrics, because it is easy to implement in scripts. While reporting how many UI parts were replaced, we created a framework to visualize the reduction in the number of steps and explain how it contributes to the development efficiency. As the final output was the SwiftUI component of the design system used in the Yahoo Japan. For example, the right side shows the UI parts of a button. And also, I'm sorry, while we are working at the current Yahoo Japan app, there are only the limited screen to be replaced. We couldn't replace the major screens, but some of the screens were replaced by the UI kit made screens. So as a result, the 60% of the code was reduced for the replaced screens, and also that we were able to adapt the design system in app. So we were able to convince the people that we did something significant. So I explained the two initiatives. So then I'd like to talk about the approach how to implement the technological improvement in the practical work. So the importance is that you have to put aside your own technological interests, and you have to appeal to the people for the non-developers. And so that's why you have to trivialize the value of technology. Again, the advantages area, easy to build a measurement system. The benefits can be communicated to non-developers in easy to understand manner, and it reassures those around you that your work is progressing towards your goals, and also the ability to immediately see the numerical improvements in response to what has been done. So that motivates other members. So you trivialize the technological value, and then you shows the measurement, and then you did the measure, and then you showed the result. So you make a system of the technical improvement in a large organization. And so I do that every day. So if you have your own idea and if you find out what you want in the terms of a technical improvement, I talked about what's kind of attitude that I have to realize that, and in other events. So if you are interested in, please check it. So that concludes my presentation. I hope that this presentation is informative for you. Thank you.
Hayashi-san, thank you very much for your presentation. And from here, we'll have the interviewers, and we would like to deep dive the contents of the session. And from the audience, we would like to actually receive the questions. So the right hand at the bottom of the screens, and there's a question mark, and you can post questions, and please send to that. And from LINE Fukuoka, Takata Shinza-san, who is the interviewer. And Taka-san, please do the self-introduction. Hello, everybody. I'm from LINE Fukuoka, and I am the IIS engineer. My name is Takada, and nice to meet you all. Thank you very much. Now, Takada-san, what is your other question from the session? Yes, I would like to ask you the question. And Hayashi-san, thank you very much for your presentation. And in our company, visualizations of the performance and also motivation, and there was a big problem. And therefore, I really learned a lot from your presentation. Thank you very much. And there's several questions that I have. And in terms of this presentation, you talked about the quantifying and the tracking. And for a long years, and there's a challenges that you need to solve that. And this kind of the quantifying and tracking, and have you continuously done this? Yes. And basically, every time we had quantified the goals, and everybody worked on that. Continuously, we've been doing that. And for the Yahoo Japan application, and overall, the technical challenges, and we try to visualize that. And there is such a kind of momentum, and therefore, so it was pretty easy to do it, I think.
ありがとうございます。なんかそもそもその定量化とか、こういう追跡の取り組みを始め
To begin with, what was the trigger of your quantitative initiative? You mean myself? About myself? Yes. So it was totally about the actually the external pressure or environment. I talked about this in the beginning of our presentation, but there are so many developers committing the source code, and so then that there were many replacement of the people. So it was very difficult to complete something by myself. I had to have help from other people. I had to have a help from other people. So then I have to work with other people. When I thought about it, and if we have to do it continuously, then we have to visualize that result and in a quantitative manner. I had to do that. It was inevitable. And I myself was not good at this kind of initiative or work. And I was more, rough person. So I understand that. Yes, it was a necessity which triggered my action.
ですね。なんかみんな
I agree to that, and when we do that, I work together with that. And in that case, if there's a goal that which is visualized in that case, and it is clear to everybody, so that we will have a motivation to achieve that. It's a good thing. And in terms of the new technologies, when you implement the new technologies, and what happens is that when there's emerging technologies, and the motivated engineers will actually use it right away, and use it for their project. However, we just do it, and that's it. We don't really evaluate, or we don't really think that much. And according to my experience, and so how we can continue. And in that case, we have to visualize, and we have to quantify and track it, and that is needed. I understood. Thank you. And now, in terms of the visualization, I have a question. And in your presentation, the clear indicator and then also involving that surrounding people. And when you make the goals or indications of the measurement, and because you said that you will select something with the big the changes, is there anything that you kind of watched out, or what was the key point in doing that? And from that sense, as you have mentioned, I think that is important. That's what you have said. Easy to understand and simple. That is the key. Because measurement, to measure, it also needs man-hour. And then also to explain that, it's pretty tiring. So when the environment changes, in that case, that the measurement or the indicator cannot work in many cases. And therefore, as much as possible, it's clear to see what is the changes and easy to explain and easy to measure. And that kind of thing that we are trying to find out.
So, yeah, something that is simple and understandable for everyone, right? Yes. Yeah, I think that's what important, because if I had experience of the failure trying to do something very difficult, so I thought it's better and not to try to do the too difficult things. So yes, I thank you very much. That's quite a good advice to me. Yeah, also you involved other people, right? The people surrounding you, because like developers may not pay too much attention to such metrics in a daily work, but did you do something special, like to make the developers to pay more attention to the metrics? For that, I didn't do that too much. But then, if I may say, as a job, I mean, we set the official target of their tasks, like not. So we included the managers and the upper layer people, and we explained the target to them, and so we declared that we will try to achieve this. So please, evaluate it as our assessment as well. So by doing so, then we motivated the developers. So the metrics and the numerical target was also linked to their assessment or the performance evaluation. Yes. So, wow, that surely motivated the people.
Thank you very much. And one specific issue that I'd like to ask, multi-module as a figures and built the hours is reducing. And from the developers, beside that the numbers, the method of development has been changed, and those kind of the feedback. Did you hear that from the developers? Let's see. And one of the thing, Yahoo Japan application, and it is a lot of the test code and the coverage, 70% or 8% or so. The test takes so long in order to execute it, and you need to fix. And then in order to do the test, and we have to wait a long time in many cases. And then because of that multi-module, and with the module in the unit, and you can build and you can test. And therefore, that became agile. So that was a clear the advantage that we enjoyed. And the framework, it was split into the framework, and then the design will be posted in the therefore. And we'll be able to actually see the relationship in between. And that was one of the feedback that I heard.
なるほど。
I see. So that splitting it by framework, so that it was easier among the different teams to work together. like because the division of the responsibility became clearer, right? Well, for that, in case of a Yahoo Japan app, so the teams were made not by the screen, but then that by team. I mean, it didn't really affect the communication among the teams. I didn't pay much attention to it. Thank you very much.
そうですね。
Let's see. And visualizing the numbers and the people will perform this, right? And safety, and that is important. And multi-module that you have started, and then until you feel safe, how long did it take that people kind of felt that safe as well as confident? How long did it take? Let's say. So the result actually has been given as a number of the figures, and therefore several months, I think. And then you will be able to visualize the result as a number. And myself as well, not just the people around myself, but myself as well. I felt relieved because I said that let's do this, and then I kind of thought that if nothing has changed, then what do we do? And so I was quite worried. And then, however, the changes is very big, so that was good. I see.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I see the numerical changes. Well, I'd like to ask you about a UI, SwiftUI. You know, in your presentation, you used the number of the steps as a metrics, and you reduced the 60% of the source code. 60% of the source code was reduced. That was a significant. But when you presented this number to the business people, were they surprised? Yes, this 60% reduction from the developer's perspective, you know, it's like we are we are comparing the different files, and of course from the developer's perspective, it's a big change, but then of course it was obvious that the code will be reduced because of what we used. But from the developers of other apps, you know, they may wonder whether that was true or not. But to show this number and show the evidence of the reduction, that they they were convinced as well. But but didn't they? Were the people skeptical? Well, they accepted the result quite naturally. Oh, I see, you reduced this much. That was the reaction that we received, I remember.
いや、それは
That's good. Thank you. So clearly, you got the number of the figures, and then with the storyboard, you developed, and then the code base create the triggers. And I think that there was a lot of challenges or the changes for the developers, and in the development. And what was the merit and demerit after you changed? The usual work. Code review. That was easy to do the code review. That's a big changes. Like when we were using the storyboard at the time, GitHub on the GitHub, and you cannot really do the code review. And now, we can do that. In case of the UI, it is possible to do that code review, and that's a difference. And then also code changes was easy to do. And compared to the UI kit, maybe the SwiftUI can do just a little bit. However, because it's more like a component-oriented, and then build the UI, and it will be forced to do so, and therefore, from that perspectives, and I think that in terms of maintainability is higher, and because we can use a Swift to write, so model the layer, the code can be done, and UI also we use the Swift, so you don't have to switch in your brain. And the developers, for the first time, if the developer is doing the iOS applications, for those people, the hurdle, or when you think about the hurdle, I think that with the SwiftUI, and they said that it's easy to read, and that was the feedback that I heard. Okay, thank you very much.
Also, the one thing that I heard in the presentation, that you couldn't replace from this UI kit to a Swift UI. So because of the Swift UI didn't have the functionality necessary, right? Yeah, in terms of a functionality that it didn't have enough. There are two major challenges. One is the interaction gesture. Against the gesture, the animation is not easy to implement. It's possible, but it's not easy to implement. And also, the life cycle is, there are very little life cycles. So that also relates to the interaction. So we cannot completely reproduce what we were able to do with the UI kit. So that was an issue.
On the other hand, without the interaction and you shift, is that how it works? Yes, that's true. For the switching, that's where you will start and gradually you will proceed. Yes, that would be better, I think. Whether you're a kid, if you have to return, and we kind of have that kind of experience. I understand. I had that same experience. So you should do it one by one. I understood. Thank you very much.
あと、もう一個だけちょっと SwiftUI でお伺いしたいんですけど。
One more thing about the Swift UI, the web and Android. So you use the atomic design as a base. So the Swift UI and atomic base, and do they have a good chemistry? Yes, I think so. I told you atomic design, but then atomic design based component oriented approach was introduced. So in terms of a component oriented, it has a good chemistry, especially not only for engineers, but the designer who can write the source code can also work with it easily. Like a designer who you can use the designer who can write the HTML, and they download the Swift UI and then they manipulate it. They were able to manipulate it. So that was good for them as well. Thank you very much.
ちょっと
And it's about time. So we would like to conclude this session. Hassan, thank you very much for your presentation. That was a valuable presentation. Hope I can hear you again. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.